Finding out. Yes, Dave.
Yes.
Good evening and welcome. I would like to call to order our Lucan Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, September the 23rd. I would like to acknowledge that I am an ally of Indigenous peoples. The township of Lucan Biddulph is located on the treaty and traditional territory and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples and is covered by several Upper Canada treaties. We recognize and celebrate the contributions of Indigenous communities in our shared cultural heritage. Lucan Biddulph is now home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and they have a unique relationship with the land and its resources and continue to shape the history and economy of our township. We recognize the unique role that Indigenous peoples have in the development of our community. The contribution from Indigenous communities ensure the sharing of unique perspectives and traditional knowledge. The township recognizes the importance of consulting with our Indigenous neighbors in an effort to build constructive, cooperative relationships through meaningful engagement and to inform our decision-making and to build partnerships. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? So the first Tuesday in September always seems to signal a return to routine after the long, enjoyable days of summer. And we were just talking about that it isn't the end of summer. There's still a couple weeks left, but we do want to wish everyone a safe first day of school tomorrow, as today was a professional development day. We hope that in the excitement of returning to class, students remain safe. And I want to send a special thank you out to our crossing guards. They have an important job to do, and we are thankful for the job that they do. And I also want to take this opportunity to remind you of my annual September PSA. September 1st marks the start of Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. As the mother of 4 men, a wife, a sister to 2 brothers, and the daughter of someone who passed with prostate cancer, I am keenly aware of the steps that men need to take when addressing their health. Show the men in your life how much you care for them by sharing this important information. Remember, when diagnosed early, prostate cancer is very treatable. We do not need to go into closed session, and we don't have a public meeting, but we do have 2 delegations with us tonight. And so the first one is our friends from Aqua. And at this point, I'd like to welcome Renee Hornick and Paul Sherbin up to the speaker's desk to walk us through the second quarter operational reports for both the Lucan and Granton sites. So welcome, friends, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and municipal staff. Like you said, we're presenting the second quarter of the 2024 operations report for both of the sewage plants in the township of Lucan Biddulph. So I'll just give a brief summary of some of the stuff that's been happening within the facilities. I just wanted to mention that the Lucan wastewater treatment plant for the second quarter, up to the second quarter, which is 6 months of the year, is currently at 84% of the rated capacity for 2024. So we expect that to trend maybe a bit downward, but not too much, and it's all weather dependent, of course. So what I typically do is I'll compare the flows to the other facilities within the Midwest region to see if they're all trending in the same direction, which gives me an indication that it is weather related, and that is what I'm seeing. One of the major activities that has been happening is removing the sludge in the second quarter. Second quarter is typically in the spring, where that can be a difficult time for us to remove the sludge from the sludge storage within the Lucan facility. And that's because typically the weather doesn't like to cooperate, and we have a difficult time getting the sludge on the fields. So we were lucky, and we had 2 good days that we were able to haul the sludge out and get the capacity down. And towards the end of June, we had an issue where we needed to get it emptied and we were unable to. So we had to ask for special permission from the ministry, which was approved. And then typically what we do is put it into the lagoon, which then at some point has to be removed. So it becomes more difficult. So we try not to have that happen. But again, it's all weather dependent and beyond our control. As well, for alarm summaries, we had 2 that were related to power failures. We had a loss of communication and a mechanical failure of the grit system. Nothing really out of the norm for the Lucan facility. For the Granton facility, we had a 41% rated capacity up to 6 months of the year. As well, we had TSS objectives that were not met in May and June. This was related to the lack of flow pacing of the chemicals. We have just received approval recently from Jeff, so we're going to be moving forward with putting in flow pacing of the chemicals, which we anticipate should help the compliance and the objectives for solids, as well as reduce the chemicals that's used. So we're looking forward to getting that done, hopefully by the end of October, and we'll have a good news story to present in the 3rd quarter. For maintenance activities, the one that I'd like to point out is that we were unable to haul sludge from Granton to Lucan, which we typically do on a monthly basis. And again, that was in relation to the Lucan lack of sludge capacity, which made it not available for us to take it to. So this could have been also part of the issue with the higher solids for Granton, because we were unable to remove sludge. One other point that I'd like to mention is the RBC, it requires a lot of maintenance. And one of the issues that's ongoing is the media plates that always need to be replaced. And that's due to the media on the plates, which gets heavy, and there's nothing that we can do. It's probably oil and grease related. It creates a film on the plates, which make them heavy, and they start to shift. So we had Hannah equipment out, and they were able to do an inspection of the facility and give us basically a quote on what needs to be replaced, what needs to be done, so that we can stay on top of that and hopefully get proactive instead of reactive for everything that occurs there. That's basically a summary. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you for that update, Renee. Questions or comments from council? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, and actually nothing to do with the report. I'm just curious, we weren't successful in the last grant for the sewer expansion. Do other municipalities, and does our municipality, do you assist in wording or when we submit for a grant? Just wondering if our municipality reaches out to you and to assist in that. And if we don't, I'm curious if other municipalities do.
We are very familiar with assisting with those grants, and we've done many of them. We have the engineering department is very capable of doing that. And if you're interested in that, absolutely reach out, and I'd be happy to help in any way.
So it sounds like the answer is the last grant we didn't ask for assistance from you, because you just said we could.
You can.
Yeah,
Yes.
so my question was, did we?
No.
No. And
no.
then my other question is, did other municipalities
Yes, we do work with other municipalities
on the grant?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we do.
Councillor Regan.
Thank you. Just very quickly, just a technical question. I'm not sure I caught what you meant by flow pacing.
Flow pacing. So basically, the pumps in Granton only run periodically. It's a smaller system, so that doesn't run very much. So what's happening is the chemical is not flow paced. So the chemical would run 24 hours a day, where the pumps might only run 2 hours a day, which is very difficult. So what we've done is we've just rigged something up to get us through the nighttime, where we don't run the chemical at all during the night. But to be realistic, we need to do it the proper way. And we've discovered that it has helped in what we've done to date. So moving forward with flow pacing will make it perfect.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you. That was just a new term. I just hadn't heard that. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify or ask a question about the sludge challenges that we're having. And is there insufficient sludge capacity, or is there anything that we can do, or just what's the overall situation with the sludge issues?
Well, we need more storage, basically. The storage, is like, it's a tough question because it's all weather related. And if the weather were to cooperate, we'd be able to get the sludge out. You know, we're working towards using the part of the lagoons for sludge storage. Once that's done, we should have no problems at all. It'll be great.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Just staying on with the sludge, I might have missed it, but because you couldn't take the sludge from Granton over to Lucan, what did you do with it?
So we hold off as long as we can because it is difficult to get approval from the ministry to put it into the lagoon. And that could be part of the reason why we had higher than normal solids. So we hold off, and if we absolutely had to, we would figure out a way. It's just costly. So we want to hold off if possible, and we don't want to incur extra costs.
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, and just when we first came, Granton was going about 3 months. So I think this is prior to Renee coming. Rod was our looking after managing our system, and decided to try and keep the Granton system cleaner, to keep the sludge out so that we could better operate the plant. And once that he found that if we transported that sludge to Lucan on a monthly basis, the Granton plant operated much easier, and it was easier on the equipment, and certainly was easier on the whole system to meet the guidelines. So back about 5 years ago, we implemented that once a month the Granton solids would come to and be stored at Lucan. It does add to the problem in Lucan that we don't have enough sludge storage, but because Granton does function better, it makes it easier for everyone involved if we do that process.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, thank you very much for joining us. It was good seeing you. I imagine we'll see you probably one more time before the end of the year.
Yes, you will.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder that we receive the Lucan and Granton second quarter operational reports from Aqua for information, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. Thanks. All right. Thanks very much. Have a good night. Okay, I'd also at this time like to welcome up to the speaker's desk Diane Bergsma. I think that you will enjoy Diane's presentation. She and her family have a respite cabin called Three Oaks Cabin that supports farmers and first responders, and she's going to share the work that they do. So welcome, Diane. Thank you very much for coming, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting us here. I'm Diane Bergsma, and I farm with my husband, Alan, near Shetland, Ontario, the big metropolis of Shetland. We were blessed with 7 children, 5 boys and then 2 girls. Our third son's name was Dallas, and from the first moment he could pull on his own boots, he would be in the barn or in the shop any given time he could be. We first spent 12 years in the military, and then we settled on the farm in Shetland, and that's when Dallas was about 3. So it wasn't very long after that he was outside all the time. And for his 6th birthday, he got some hens, and from there he was a little business entrepreneur. He sold eggs to everybody that drove in the laneway, dragged them to church, and any visitors that came on, he had to buy eggs. But he scrimped and saved and bought little pieces of machinery that he resold, and on his 18th birthday, he was able to purchase his first farm with his own money. So needless to say, he was a scrappy little dude. We called him whippersnapper, and for a very good reason. He got married shortly out of high school, and they settled on their little pig farm not far from our place. And we envisioned that Dallas would take over the operation. We grew with him. He bought more farms, and we did as well. He built a new hog finishing facility in 2018, and we followed suit in 2019 with the idea of growing and working towards a transition to Dallas MSHL. Dallas was also a proud member of the Don Euphemia Fire Department, and he was a very loyal brother there. And while we were growing and expanding and doing life on the farm, doing chores, working in the barns together, we did not recognize, nor did we have the tools to recognize the monumental stress he was under and the mountain of stress that was building on his shoulders. From the trauma from the fire department that was undealt with, things that he endured, the things that he saw that were not processed and that just hung around, and also the stress of being a young farmer with high debt load. And on November 23rd, 2020, our son Dallas succumbed to suicide. Our family was crushed in the wake of losing him, crushed with the loss of our son, our brother, our friend, our business partner, and also the dream of a heritage farm, and the weight of not having had the tools to recognize where he had been mentally and emotionally. In hindsight, we can see the dots, we can even connect some of them, but while we were placing them on the roadmap of life on the farm, we had no tools to recognize it. And after his loss, we discovered the tragic statistics around mental wellness for both farmers and first responders, and the high stress load and the high anxiety rates that they both endure. And we felt compelled to help. Farmers and first responders are both tend to be people who want to help others, who are invested in the lives of others, but who might not always be the first to line up to receive help. So we formed a charity called Three Oaks Cabin. It's born out of immense loss, but Three Oaks signifies hope and resilience. And while loss can be painful beyond words, put in perspective of eternity and ultimate renewal, it can have a place of planting seeds of new life, of courage and anticipation, and that is the vision of Three Oaks. The cabin was recently completed, and we are beyond excited to have welcomed guests since May. The walking trails have been roughed in, but are awaiting drier weather to be finished off. I noticed you guys also have the same weather-related issues up here. We hope to have them in place still in September of this year. So the cabin is a 3-bedroom log home. It's situated in our 50-acre woodlot. It will accommodate a family of 6 or more, and it also has a loft where departments could come and do workshops, or a therapist could come and take some guests with her and to work through some significant trauma or other lessons or workshops that they might want to take part in. So it's a place where our human fragile side and our resilience can meet and to learn to get along. The cabin stay is free. People can book it online on our website, and they go through a short questionnaire to make sure that they can ensure their own safety if they choose to come alone, and they can come and stay for free. And there is self-directed programming for guests while they're at the cabin, and it's designed by the National Farmers Mental Health Alliance. Those are our partners at the cabin for the mental health programming. They are a group of registered therapists in Ontario who either have lived experience on the farm or as a first responder, or who are very well educated in the cultures and the trials and the pitfalls of both those occupations. We felt it was very important to partner with people who understood the culture and the challenges that both these groups of people might face, so that if people reach out to them afterward, that they have a good connection with them. So yeah, when the people go home, when the guests go home, they get a follow-up call from one of the therapists. And with doing that, we have discovered that people will accept a call from a therapist if they know it's coming, but they avoid the step of being the one to have to call the therapist. So I guess maybe it's a healthy, sneaky way to get them help that they need. And like I said, the workshops are also available. The workshop space is available to therapists and to fire or police departments or EMS. So life goes through valleys, and they can be deep and very hard. We won't pretend that we can fix anyone's problems, but we can look other people in the eye and say, I know how hard life can be. I suppose there's no human that does not have burdens to carry, since we live in a broken world. So today is also a reminder that the burdens we carry must periodically be checked. We are not created to carry an ever-increasing load. Let today also be a day of commitment to each other and from each other to take time to check our backpack of burdens that we carry. The things that we stuff in there because they feel too heavy to deal with them today. The things that we allow to drag along in there because they are too painful to let them surface. and the memories we allow to fester in there because it's easier than working through the emotions associated with them. Those are not weights that we are meant to carry indefinitely. Backpacks are very useful tools that allow us to carry many things simultaneously that we would not be able to carry or juggle in our hands. We pad the straps so that we can carry even more. We add pockets to add another item to come along in the same load. Backpacks come in all sorts and sizes for different purposes, but all of them are strapped onto our backs, where the weight can be distributed over our spine and rib cage, but they must be carried to be of any benefit. If we never empty out our backpack, it eventually fills up to the point where we cannot stuff even one more thing in it, even if that last item was of great value or importance. The straps will break and crash to the ground, and the contents spill out uncontrolled, or we stumble and are crushed under the weight on our shoulders. The burdens we carry need to be checked so they don't break us. Some of us have sent children off to school again this morning. We sent them with healthy lunches packed neatly in their backpacks and expect to have their backpacks returned full of evidence of growth and learning. However, if that backpack stays closed, then even the best packed lunches would spoil, and the best academic accomplishments on take-home papers will never be acknowledged. Remember that. Our accomplishments should be celebrated humbly and gratefully, but celebrated with thanksgiving for sure. And our opportunity for nourishment and growth ought to be renewed every day. So please, if there is a practical message for today, take note of the urgency and the necessity of emptying out the stuff that we tend to carry and find ways to encourage your loved ones to do the same. So our backpacks also need to be checked for content. Is the stuff you or I carry of value to us or someone we care about? Or is it just baggage that we have gotten used to carrying around? In acknowledging our vulnerability and need for community, we do not expose weakness, but rather we strengthen our resilience and our bonds in our relationships. And it is within relationships and community that we have the privilege of serving one another. We must become more aware of the signs of mental and emotional fatigue and more courageous to lovingly, respectfully, but intentionally step into the lives of those who are suffering. There is no point in finding out where our breaking point is if we're on the other side. But this project is not about Dallas or about our family, even though it was triggered by the loss of him. This project is about the farmers and the first responders also in this community. It's about the farmer who might lay awake at night worrying about the rising interest and input costs. It is about the farmer who might stew about succession plans and is wondering if the next generation will be successful. It is about the young farmer who might have a high debt load and feel overwhelmed by the lack of control over major factors like weather and pricing. It is about those who have experienced trauma professionally and may not have opportunity or space to process the impact of it. It is about those who have experienced loss at work or at home that impacts their person emotionally or spiritually or psychologically. It is about those who might be serving in your community on a department while also serving the farming community as an active farmer. Three Oaks might be a place where there is the right space to process some of that stuff that hasn't been unloaded yet. We cannot bring Dallas back. One day we will go to him and that will be a glorious day. And I will have so many questions for him. But meanwhile, our family has firmly resolved to use everything at our disposal to make a difference in the lives of those who work and invest to produce quality food for Canada and the world, and for those who work tirelessly to keep our communities and families safe. Ultimately, we want to prevent this very avoidable tragedy from happening in your community, but also the broader and the deeper tragedy of living without joy or hope. So talk to each other, ask meaningful questions about each other's mental well-being, and remind yourself and others that at times the most courageous thing to do is to ask for help. That profound connection of offering and asking and receiving support from each other is one of the most beautiful aspects of what makes us human. The more we have mental wellness as a regular topic in our conversation, the more we normalize care for our mental health like we would care for our physical health. It is our prayer that Three Oaks and its communal effort will always testify of the beauty of relationships and community, that it always be a reminder of the obligation and God-given privilege of being a neighbor to the people in our lives, and that it always be filled with integrity to ourselves, to our families, and to our communities. And let's continue on this journey together. And with that, I would warmly welcome farmers and first responders from your community to take a break. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Diane, for sharing your most personal and passionate story. I think you've made a difference to all of us that heard the story in person and anybody that will watch this back. I know that our fire chiefs were aware that you were going to be here today. I actually spoke to one this afternoon. He's watching online, and the departments are aware, and they will be sharing the resources that you offer at Three Oaks. I had the opportunity of driving by the cabin in the spring, and it is an incredibly beautiful setting. There's no question you, I think, have created something that is needed by both communities. And congratulations, out of tragedy, you have done something that both the agricultural and first responder communities need. We speak quite often at different times throughout the year, you know, Mental Health Awareness Day, Suicide Prevention Day, about the need to have these conversations. And we can't remind people enough how important those conversations are. With that, I will ask council if there's any questions or comments. Councillor Westman.
Hi. I'm a 30-year veteran of our fire department and a farm boy too. And I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am personally for what you're doing. My brothers and sisters see things we cannot unsee. We are unlike, well, I mean, city firefighters are, you know, they're busy, they work hard, but they will go their whole career and likely not see someone they know. Country firefighters, every other call is someone we know, so it hits a little bit harder, a little bit deeper. And I know myself, I struggled for a long time and I got help. I'm very grateful for that, but what you're doing is amazing and I'm thankful. So, thank you.
Thank you for those comments. And I just want to stress that it has been a communal effort. We started out with the idea that we'll build a place where people can take a break. But with all the community help in the build, we had enough of our nest egg left over that we could think about doing the mental health programming as well. So we're very grateful that it's not a Bergsma project, it's now a community project. And yeah, we're very grateful for that.
Deputy Mayor Mander.
Just to comment, again, when you came Three Oaks, I didn't know, you know, what it was about. So, you know, my ignorance, I guess, but you've got a great website. I think it's, you know, if the goal is to get this to the firemen and into the farmers, I guess my question to you is just, you know, the two chiefs at least can get it to their staff. And I'm curious, what do you feel is the best way to get it out to the farming community? What would be your advice to get your information to our farming community?
We attend a lot of the farm meetings, and we're going to the Woodstock Farm Show next week and have a booth there. Really, word of mouth is still the best way, because I think both those communities have a brotherhood within them, where if your farming neighbor says, hey, I took a break and I thought it was good for me, or if a first responder, probably even more so, have that shoulder to shoulder environment that you cannot easily break into, and that's good, right? They need each other in that format. So I think word of mouth is definitely the best way. So if fire chiefs and you know, other department heads could encourage their members to go, then hopefully it will snowball. It has been quite well attended since May, but there is a little bit of a lull in September and October. So we're hoping that we can get lots of people out.
Any other comments or questions? Well, once again, I know you've left some postcards, and we'll make sure that we keep them here for distribution. And we will share the video and contact information on our social media. I know it was a bit of a drive today to come up, but I really do appreciate you making the effort. And we will certainly commit to doing our part to getting that word out. And
Wonderful.
okay.
Yeah, and if anybody is driving, if you're driving by again, please feel free to
Yes,
stop by.
I will.
Actually, we do have guests they can always come from Friday to Sunday night or from Tuesday to Thursday in the evening. That way it gives me time to clean on Fridays and Mondays and my life doesn't get too chaotic. So yeah, those the days will always be open for visits.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Diane. All the best. Okay, moving on, we have a set of minutes from our council meeting on August the 13th. Seems so long ago, my goodness. And if nothing had to be corrected or approved, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve those as circulated. That's to the motion, right? Nothing has to be approved, nothing has to be amended. Okay, then Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Nothing's been added to business arising from the last list, and I would ask council if there was anything from the August meeting that they wanted added to business arising. Okay, on to correspondence. We've received a number of items in the past almost month. Nothing has been flagged by staff at this point, but if council wanted to speak to any, I would ask if anyone wanted to be pulled. Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to the first two items, looks like there's two grants or funding opportunities. The first being for some emergency preparedness grant funding, and the second for community sport and recreation infrastructure fund. So just wanted to ask to staff whether we will be applying for these grants or funding opportunities, if we have any specific plans for those applications.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through you to Councillor Hodgins. When we received this this letter, I did have a chance to forward this to Bettina and asked her if there was anything that we should be looking at. Do we have enough supplies in the emergency services trailer, for example? But to be honest, we're in pretty good shape. All of our facilities have backup power, and I think backup power is probably one of the higher priorities items for this type of a grant, and all of our facilities do have that. So we are in pretty good shape as far as emergency services go. But I did, like I said, I did reach out to Bettina to ask her if she had any suggestions as to what we could do if we were to apply. So, and she didn't have anything because she said we have enough supplies. We don't need more supplies. So.
Thank you. Just follow up. I was looking through some of the successful funds. I think it goes up to 50,000, and there's like over 100 kind of examples of funding or successful grant applications in the first round. And I wonder, there were some that were specific to supporting fire departments, getting new gear. So, yeah, I just hate to see the opportunity missed if we might have some avenue where it could be used. So, maybe just a comment that perhaps we can check with our fire departments to see if anything they could use.
Yeah, like beyond Bettina. Right, exactly. Okay, that is that one. And then the second one was the sport and recreation one. Or did you have a question on the community?
I think I can speak to the sport and recreation one. I think this is the one. So for Councillor Hodges, I think this is the one that Darcy had discussed with me and was going to speak to, or was going to speak to at the next Parks and Rec meeting. I think that was the one that he had talked about, if I have the name right. So just so Councillor Hodges knows, but I can check on that 100%. He's not here tonight, but we did have a conversation about a grant that's coming up that we want to discuss with PRAC first. I hope that helps.
Okay, were there any other items of correspondence that council wanted to speak to? Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive those items for information purposes. Councillor Hodgins and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. On to committee reports. Blue Water.
Nothing. We took
See-
August off.
CEDC.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next meeting is September 25th. I'll have a report for council, our first meeting in October.
Thank you very much. Lake Huron, we meet in October. Don't believe there's anything from the fire boards. ABCA.
We also took August off.
And it went by so quickly. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're trying to arrange at this time a meeting for September 19th. That just went out today just to see if we can get enough people who's available for that day.
Trails and Connectivity.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. We had a meeting week and a bit ago, and we had pretty good input. Very grateful to Parks and Recreation staff for refurbishing the path in the Granton Park. It was getting pretty overgrown, and the staff came over and did a great job. It looks like brand new. They did a wonderful job and got to test out a piece of equipment that we've acquired that works really good for that kind of work, which will be very implemental in building future trails. So we had some good conversation about extending sidewalks and looping through our different communities. And you know, a recent presentation by a prospective developer kind of solved one of those potential problems. So I think we're well on our way to having some good vision on where we're likely to put trails in the future. You know, the urbanization of this area down here by the commercial development is underway, which I think will certainly help as well. And as our developers are building, we can ask them to link up our trails. So, you know, it's looking very positive for the future. I'm feeling very good about it. And our committee is very energized about it. So it's good.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions on that? And the minutes, of course, are on the agenda. Or the draft minutes, I should say. Okay, on to staff reports. Ron, you have an activity report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do have the activity report. I won't go through everything, just a couple highlights. The new provincial policy statement was released during the recent AMO conference. And that apparently it's 100 pages less than the previous one. So that's always a good sign. There will be a more formal update report coming from the county planning department. So hopefully we'll see it at the next meeting. And that we hope to have some good news coming out of that in regards to our official plan appeal. But again, I'm not betting the farm on that until we see how this all is going to pan out. With regard to both funding applications, they have, we call it HAF 2, Housing Accelerator Fund Round 2. Many thanks to Paul Shipway from the County of Middlesex and Abby at the county. They did a ton of work. That application was submitted last Friday to the ministry, so we'll keep our fingers crossed again. Paul's got a good feeling about this, and the fact that all those that were successful in round 1 are not eligible in round 2. That hopefully narrows the field a little bit. So hopefully we float to the top a little better than we did the first round. And the same thing can be said for the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund. We did have our debriefing meeting at noon today. The treasurer as well as the director of public works were in on that meeting as well. And of course we had a discussion. It was a quick discussion. They only allocated 15 minutes to us, but we actually got our questions answered. Number one, the joint project means it has to be between other municipalities. It can't be public-private partnerships. That is not considered a joint project. So obviously with the Lucan sewage treatment plant expansion, there is no other municipality involved. So it's not eligible under that. So we aren't going to score any better on the second round for that one. It's not a health and safety issue, so we can't score better on that one. We did ask for a definition on what that third criteria was, and I think it was technical merit for housing impact. So I said, we wanted to know, what does that mean? So, and really what he said in Cole's notes, basically it's not enough houses being built as a result of this. And so I said, okay, well, how do we make ourselves look better? And he gave us some pointers, so we will take that to heart, and we will be looking at that. Our consultant, Lisa Courtney from BM Ross was in on that meeting as well. So she was taking notes as well. So again, the people who were successful, or the municipalities that were successful in round one, are not eligible for round two. The difference is the first round was, I believe, 900 million. There was $2.5 billion worth of applications submitted for that 900 million. So this round, I believe, is 250 million for the second round. So it's a lot smaller, but again, the pool, I think, was a lot smaller as well. So again, we're going to do our best, and we will be submitting prior to the submission deadline. And then the last one, the AMO conference, we did, I think this was the most delegations we had ever had at an AMO conference. And yeah, I don't know what to whether that was, two of them were interesting. I don't think we made too much headway. The Ministry of Infrastructure, yeah, we didn't get too much of an answer out of that one. Again, we're just going to keep hacking away, hoping to be noticed. And I think that's part of the process. We've been doing this for 4, maybe 5 years now, Madam Mayor. So we just have to keep at it. So that's what we'll continue to do.
Great, thank you for that. I guess we could stretch it and say, the joint project is between Lucan and Biddulph. I mean, there are houses in Biddulph. Questions or comments for Ron on his report? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron, I'm just wondering, with the Housing Enabling Water System Fund, our application is to be submitted November 1st, and the Deputy Mayor asked about whether or not we enlisted the aid of Aquas. Would we be doing that for this round, perhaps getting some input from them, or because I don't know if that question was answered. So
I was just going to say like BM Ross has been quite instrumental in this whole process, and they've been in touch with the Ontario Clean Water Agency. They've consulted with them. So
okay,
although Aqua didn't fill out the application for us, as BM Ross is our consultant in the project, they have been consulted, and I look to the Director of Public Works, Jeff, if he's, but I'm sure that they've been consulted, they've been involved in the application. So
great, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments or questions on Ron's report? Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, next up to the speaker's podium, Arnie Marsman for a mid-year update. So welcome. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming in person, Arnie, on this September evening, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. It's a pleasure to be here again. Yeah, my first report today is just a brief update for bylaw enforcement activities for this past year that we've seen. It's generally been it's been a busy year, but nothing really jumps out. Last year in comparison, we seem to be the year of the backyard chicken. This year, I don't think we've had any issues with backyard chicken, so that's kind of nice. Just the standard old grass and weeds and noise and dogs. It seems dogs and cats are one of the highlights for us this year again. What I have provided is a brief table outlining the standard, some of the calls that we've had this year. We've clocked 27 bylaw enforcement complaints. Those calls, those are different complaints that may trigger more than one inspection or site visit each. That takes some time to work with residents. So it's not that we've been here 27 times. It's probably threefold that in resolving some of these. All of these complaints through them all. No provincial offense notices have been written. So I think we've worked well with your staff, with your residents in resolving most matters. And we did proceed with cleaning up one yard. We hired a contractor to do some grass cutting, but essentially that was the extent of what we've seen this year so far. So I'm happy to answer any questions. But
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions on this report of Arnie's that he's presented to us? Nothing. Easy. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that that report for information. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, on to the building, the second quarter building report, Arnie.
yeah, through the mayor, presenting to council our second quarter or first half report. Last year was a very slow year, and this year we've generally kept that pace. We've nothing spectacular with regards to new housing versus housing last year, with the exception of an apartment building that we see going up in town in the south end. So we're excited to see that. It seems that Lucan Biddulph has done so well in the last 10 or 15 years with different subdivisions. The growth has always outshone most of the province, I think, over the last 10 or 15 years. And there's always something that brings the numbers up. Last year, I think it was some medium density did really well. This year, we get a boost of an apartment building to start the year. And the second half is looking really good with some of our subdivisions and residential. I think, I guess if I go straight to the table one, we've had 11 new singles. That's the extent of new residential development outside of this apartment building. Last year we had 19, but since then we've almost doubled that in the last 2 months. So business has taken off nicely. Not all in Lucan, some in Biddulph. Granton's done well this year. It's been busy, but yeah, I'm pleased. Yeah, to say again, our numbers overall, thanks in part to the impact of the apartment building, we've got a 28 million construction value compared to this time last year is 8 million. So take away the apartment building, that's about 20 million off the top, but and we're fairly equal. But it's again, I'm very happy with how the year's gone. And in comparison, the second table kind of shows well, it shows previous years, and it's not a spectacular year, but we're doing well. And you can, council can spend some time if they like, just to compare previous years. The third table is how the rest of our service agreement area is doing. And North Middlesex has done extremely well. Ailsa Craig's taken off really well. Southwest Middlesex struggling a little bit compared to last year. Last year they had some medium density that did really well in Glencoe. And Middlesex Center continues to kind of barrel along at a slow pace because of the loss of the residential development, primarily I think due to interest rates. So I think we do see some good light down the end of the tunnel with regards to construction activity of new homes, and speaking with some builders and people looking into even in the spring of next year, it's going to pick up again. So all in all, we're doing well across the county. It's similar to last year, generally the same pace as last year with a few nice exceptions. And I'm open to any questions.
Okay, thank you for that update on where we are and where our neighbors are. Actually, it gives us a good comparison. Questions or comments on this report? Deputy Mayor Manders.
I'm drawing a blank on the south end apartment. I don't know if you can refresh my memory. That's a single building only on that site, and is it a 4 or 5 story? I'm just drawing a blank. If you know,
yeah, through the mayor, deputy mayor, I believe it's a 4-story, single building, 64 units, rentals.
And currently that's all that's all that was approved for site, I think, correct? Yeah, right, right. No, thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I may have asked this question before and forgotten. In the table 1 that has the cost of construction, are those values are they self-reported, like what at the building permit stage, like they have to identify that number? And I'm just wondering with the apartment, because that's a very large dollar amount for that building. And is that like an actual cost, or where does that come from?
Yeah, that's a great question through the mayor. It largely is self-reported. We do some comparators with, we have a construction construction index that we use in comparison with the cost of housing, the cost of industrial commercial development. And we want to make sure that it's reasonable. What their estimates are makes sense to some of the construction tables that we have. Cost of construction. We have some good tables that look at the costs in the GTA versus outside the GTA, and including in the Southwest region. I'm happy to share it with you too, if you like, what we can use for construction values. But again, generally it's self-reported. If it seems reasonable, we retain that, and it'll be assessed as well separately through the assessment office at some time.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it's great to see that, significant investment in that new apartment building, and to see that, more diversification of our housing stock in Lucan Biddulph is exciting as well. I did have one last question. It's not specific to this report, but just building in general. But with the other apartments here on this end of town, what's the status there? Is there occupancy for those units? Because it's been built for a while, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of, I guess, residential tenancies currently.
Yeah, through the mayor, it's a great question. They have full occupancy. I don't know what demand they're seeing or what uptake they're getting, but they have occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Right, great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thanks for joining us, Arnie. It was great to see you in person, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. On to finance. Catherine.
Thank you. This report tonight is for information in regards to the 2025 budget survey that was completed in the summer. This is the 4th year that we have done a budget survey, and new for this year, in an effort to promote the survey and gain participation, respondents could choose to be entered in a draw for a local business gift card. 71% of the respondents provided their contact info, and 4 winners were randomly selected. We had some of the same questions as prior years, but introduced some new questions. Regarding the tax rate, most would support an increase by inflation to maintain service levels. If the tax rate stays the same, then there would be a service reduction, and respondents indicated which area they would not want to be affected by a service reduction. We also wanted to see if there's interest in developing new user fees or having an increase in user fees, and most would support this to generate revenue rather than an increase to property taxes. So we'll take a look at that. We added some questions to gauge how knowledgeable residents were regarding their tax dollars and their value. And we were pleased to see that most have a somewhat to good understanding, and they receive good value. We just wanted to see if there was some more education that we had to do in that department. I'm sure there's always room for that. But most seem to know what's going on, so that's good. Regarding the budget process, most residents would like to continue with the budget survey. Some other ideas that we will look at is providing updates or more information on social media throughout the process, and perhaps developing a 1-page summary or an infographic. Of course, though, adding too much cost to do this. I have seen examples of other municipalities do something like that, so I'll have a look at that. Finally, we provide an opportunity for residents to provide some ideas of projects or services they'd like to see included in the budget. And then in the report, I've summarized the major topics. You can see there. We also get comments about about things that are beyond our control, but there are some good ideas in there. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who completed the survey. And staff will review the results and use this information when developing the budget this fall. And the survey results that are attached to this report, and they will be posted to the municipal website.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Catherine, for that. As always, it's great to have the community come out and engage this way. Comments or questions on this report that was just delivered? Councillor Hodgins.
I'll just make a quick comment and say thank you, Catherine. I think it's a valuable process, and it's great to get feedback, and great that we're getting this much feedback. And I know we talked about it last time, but I do like to see the unique responses that people do provide. Some of them don't provide as much value, but certainly lots of great ideas in there, and you can kind of get an idea of trends with what people are interested in talking about. So thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, no, it is interesting how certain themes reemerge, right? Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, thank you very much, Catherine. We certainly look forward to more coming out during the budget itself based on this. With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that for information. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman, all in favor, and that's carried. Did you have anything else, Catherine?
Just one item you'll see in the bylaws tonight, there's a tax bylaw included, but it's just to amend the bylaw that we passed this spring so that we can add the shopping center tax class, the SU and the ST, so that we can process the SUPs and omits that we received recently. This class has the same ratio as commercial and therefore the same tax rates. So it's really just allowing us to kind of amend that to allow us to proceed and to collect the taxes. So
That's great. Thank you very much, Catherine. Were there any questions beyond this for Catherine at this time? Okay, on to Public Works. Jeff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have an activity report for council tonight. There are two items that I would like to speak to. The first one is the winter maintenance agreement for the connecting link has been sent through to us. This is sent through to us by the Miller Group. It is an agreement that comes to us annually, and it is for the winter maintenance inside the connecting link. This year, the cost is up 10%. It's at $11,123.74. I just bring that to council's attention. If there's any more inquiries, please let me know. The other one I wanted to bring up to council's attention is that one that we're working on and trying to get through all the processes, working on the Timber Ridge pre-servicing agreement. We're still working on the engineering and some of the legal details that have to go into the agreement. We have been in contact with the county's concern on the delay in the paving. And we have developed a rough timeline that we're working towards. The current timeline is that the developer, if and when the pre-servicing agreement is done in the short term, the developer will go to tender as soon as the pre-servicing agreement is in place. The pre-servicing agreement will be secured by a letter of credit from the developer. The contractor will have a timeline of about 8 months to complete the internal and external servicing. This time period of 8 months, we were in discussion with the county engineer and how he wants Saintsbury to proceed and what he expects it to look like for next year. The Saintsbury work will be done in the spring to ensure that we can get a base asphalt down and that the internal work can proceed as soon as the contractor has the materials and can move in through the winter period. This is still ongoing. We're meeting. We've had a couple of meetings actually today about this, so we are working. This is high on our list to get this worked out. So I'll leave it at that. The rest are all items are fairly straightforward. If any of the council has a question on them, I welcome them.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeff. Questions or comments from council on Jeff's activity report? Deputy Mayor Manders?
Just one, it does appear that way, but the sidewalk is gonna be completed before probably Christmas or winter between here and there. I mean, you just.
Yeah, so the
Like-
three, going out to 315, we've got, sidewalk being basically finished there. Pavement should be next week. We're gonna have rumble strips and then eventually we'll get some line markings and some signage up there. So I'm expecting before the end of September, we should have everything finished out there.
No, that's good. Good news. Everyone will look forward to that for sure. Any other questions or comments for Jeff? Okay, seeing none, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that item for information, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Westman. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Economic development, nothing. Councillor comments. No councillor comments. Well, I guess we all took August off. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We did have a meeting in August, but August was quieter, so. I guess just maybe I will throw a comment out. I know that the Biddulph Blanchard Fire Department had their breakfast in August when we were all on our way to AMO, and I believe it was a success. And the Lucan Fire Department breakfast is this Sunday too. So if you're in town, make sure you support. Yep.
Yeah, I can speak to the Biddulph Blanchard breakfast. It was very well attended. And the food was, as usual, was awesome. But I was pretty amazed. It was really busy. So it's a good thing. Also, the Granton United Church had a little breakfast the other weekend too, and that was also very well attended and good too. So
That's great. Thank you very much for that. No changes to budget, any notices of motion? We'll go right into our motions, and we just have bylaws in front of us, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bylaws. And the details, of course, can be found on the agenda. So the motion in front of us is that if no one cares to speak to bylaws 36-24 through 41-24, 2024 inclusive on their first, second, and third reading, that they be considered to have been read a first time and passed, read a second time and passed, and read a third time and passed. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. And resolved that council be adjourned at 7:32. A mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan, all in favor?